Asked to talk about blockchain. My background is cryptography, which is encryption, digital signature. So blockchain is basically something that I'm really excited about. I'm not going to talk about cryptocurrency. So a disclaimer here, a caveat. I'm not going to talk about now. It's only 8,000. A lot of people are pretty disappointed about Bitcoin. But anyway, today is talking about a technology, about how the blockchain can be used in a supply chain, rather than talking about the cryptocurrency itself. So first of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank French Chamber for having me here. It's really a privilege to share with you about the blockchain, what we are doing, and also a general introduction about it. So when I'm thinking about how to introduce blockchain to everybody, we cannot skip about Bitcoin. So I start with Bitcoin anyway. In afternoon, we might want to have some beer, and Bitcoin accepted. I'm not sure how many of you have seen this sign in Hong Kong. It's not that much, but there are some bars, they do accept Bitcoin. But at this moment, I'm not sure how many of you would like to use your Bitcoin to pay for, for the beer or some of the drinks. But actually, the first transaction using Bitcoin is to spend 10,000 Bitcoin for just 2 pieces. So shoot, right? So right now, 1 Bitcoin worth 8,000 US dollar. So you can see how much it is. And this is the first transaction, 10,000 Bitcoin for just 2 pieces. And how about now? Maybe 0.0 something, right? 0.01 Bitcoin for 1 pizza. In fact, you might not want to use Bitcoin nowadays because you might need to use Bitcoin for this kind of unfortunate incident that actually hackers are using Bitcoin a lot nowadays. Some hackers, they try to hack into some users, your computers, and then try to encrypt all your files, and then show you this kind of display saying that if you want to have your file decrypted by them, then you need to pay, say, 0.3 Bitcoin. Like 3,000 Bitcoin, or a little bit less than 3,000 US dollar, I mean. So this is called ransomware. Hackers love Bitcoin because Bitcoin can provide some kinds of anonymity, just like fiat currency, just like cash. The reason why I'm talking about all this, and what's the relationship between Bitcoin and blockchain, is that blockchain is actually the underlying technology of Bitcoin. So in other words, I would say Bitcoin is just one of the applications of blockchain. So almost all cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Monero, Zero Cash, you name it, there are more than 2,000 different kinds of cryptocurrencies nowadays. They are all based on the technology called blockchain. And blockchain is not just one single technology. It's actually a set of technologies. But now, today, we are not going to go into all those technologies like digital signature, consensus algorithm, all those stuff. We are going to focus on the features, what exactly blockchain is, and how we are going to use blockchain in our industry. Oh, by the way, in the previous slide, this is the paper published about introducing about the concept of blockchain. And if you have hard time, go to bed at night, try to download it and read it. It's really boring. And it's not a well-written paper by some kinds of anonymous guy, Satoshi Nakamoto, and nobody knows who he is. So probably you have seen this this cartoon or this picture before. Nobody knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is. Usually, I would say, should a real Satoshi Nakamoto please raise your hand? But it doesn't matter. So exactly what blockchain is. To me, blockchain is basically a database, or basically like a lookup table. Right? It's a place for you to store stuff. And it's different from just a database because blockchain is a database which is by nature distributed. You may imagine that this database replicates itself for so many copies, thousands of copies. So this database, if you have one copy get lost, it's OK, because you have a lot of other copies on the internet. They are available, and so that it's very reliable, because you put it there, and it's duplicated all over the internet, and you can find it anywhere you want. So that's why, as a definition, I would just keep blockchain as a very simple concept. It's a database duplicated over hundreds of or thousands of computers over the internet. So what are the features that blockchain is bringing to us? The first thing I think is very important is that if you put data onto the blockchain, it's there. Nobody can change it. So it's basically like write once. You write the data onto the blockchain and read many times. And also you can change it. Nobody can change it. And besides that, it has the preservation of the ownership, which means if you put data into it, there is a term called digital signature, which specifies who put the data onto it. So there is an ownership information, and also preserve the timeline. So it's like you may actually consider that next time you have some great idea and you want to invent something, you put that idea onto blockchain, and it's actually a timestamp because nobody can change it. Nobody can say, hey, I invent that one earlier than you, because you already have that evidence on the blockchain saying that you have this great idea, you write it in, and everybody can check that this is really coming from you. So what's the analogy? I try to think about an analogy. I have been attending so many blockchain or cryptocurrency conferences, and there's always an introduction to blockchain, this kind of workshop or section. Right? So it seems that a lot of people are talking about blockchain in a very complicated way. To me, I would like to use this one as an analogy. It's kind of old-fashioned. I still remember in my college age, I use a lot of CDR for obvious reason, because I use that one for doing the pirated movies or songs, duplicate a lot of copies, and then share with my friends or my girlfriends or some other reasons. But basically, the idea is that it's just like CDR. CDR is the recordable CD. You write it once. You cannot write it multiple times, but you can read it anytime you want. And also, you can duplicate for so many copies and then disseminate, distribute to your friends. Right? So that's the concept of blockchain. So once we have this concept, then let's look into some use cases. Let's see how we can use blockchain. There are so many blockchain applications, so many blockchain prototypes, trials, so-called proof of concept, pilot runs all over the world. So it's a buzzword. Blockchain itself is already a buzzword. But today, we are going to look into just a few use cases. And then we walk through the entire use case and see how we use blockchain. So the first thing I would like to share with you is about diamond. So what's the relationship between blockchain and diamond? Well, for example, say you have a diamond, giving you a diamond, and then you are going to ask these questions. Where is it from? Who cut or polished it? Who has owned it before, like the history? Is it a blood diamond? You would like to know the history of diamond. For example, your customer would like to know the history of the diamond, the ownership of the diamond, the source of it. How to find this information out? Well, we know that there is something called GIA code. Right? From the GIA code, we have that so-called 4 Cs: carat, color, clarity, cut gray, some of the dimension stuff. But you don't have the information about the source, the distributor, the cut, the polish, who owns it, all this information. Now, just based on my analogy about blockchain, if you have a blockchain which is designed for keeping this diamond information, you may actually considering of putting all this information about a story or a journey of a diamond onto the blockchain so that everybody can access it. You can actually improve the transparency, traceability of the diamond. If the diamond is being stolen, you may also write some signal or write some information onto the blockchain saying that, hey, this diamond has been stolen. So let's see one scenario. Just suppose that all this information has been put onto the blockchain, like the ownership, the entire journey of the diamond. So suppose there is a scenario that a user's diamond is being stolen, and then this information can be written onto the blockchain, so everybody will know that particular diamond with the particular GIA code is being stolen. And then when the thief tries to sell it to a jeweler, then the jeweler can actually check the blockchain to see whether this diamond has been stolen or it's owned by a legitimate owner. So if it is stolen, then the blockchain has some concept called smart contract, which can automatically notify the insurer, saying that, hey, this stolen diamond has been found, and it's in the custody of this particular jeweler. Or they can do a lot of other things because of the tracking of the diamond's whereabouts. So actually, you can use this one to reach a win-win situation for everybody. For insurer, they can control the risk. For owners, they can actually ensure the value of it because you can differentiate whether it is a legitimate diamond or a diamond coming from the black market, whether it is a black diamond coming from Africa or something. So actually, you can improve the transparency by enhancing the value of the diamond. So starting from diamond, let's think about what other kinds of commodity or stuffs that we can borrow this idea and add value into our products. So I have this kind of notion. As soon as you have some kinds of serial number or uniquely identifiable information on that particular asset, no matter where it is or what it is, food, wine, diamond, luxury goods, electronic stuff, garment, all kinds of things. As soon as you will be able to attach some kinds of identifiable information, for example, RFID tag, or so-called NFC tag, or the QR code is a cheaper one, then from that uniquely identifiable information, then you can link to the whole journey or the history or the information of that particular asset on the blockchain. Then you can think about a lot of things that you can do by using blockchain, because you can keep a lot of things there rather than keeping on that little QR code. But the QR code has a pointer pointing to that blockchain. So about the whole blockchain thing, it's about traceability, or there's another term called visibility. We try to enhance the visibility in a supply chain industry. So starting from the leftmost, there is a term called provenance. Where it's from? We can actually, starting from the asset's original shape, if we are able to put some kinds of identifiable, unerasable information onto that asset, then we can trace it. We can actually specify the provenance of that particular asset. And also, going through the entire supply chain process, you will be able to use blockchain to do the tracking and tracing. About which distributor is actually holding the goods, the asset, and then transferring from which port to which other port. And all this little information can also be put onto blockchain in real time. And everything is following that particular identifier. So you can see the entire journey. For the customer, they can also find out all the information on the blockchain. Of course, you can provide some kinds of access control so that they might be able to read just a subset of the information based on your scenario or industry's needs. But the point is that everything can be very transparent, and then you can do the fine-grained control about what kind of information would be able to would be accessed by your particular customer or any particular entity. So this is actually a very good platform for encouraging collaboration on the entire for the entire industry. So here's another startup called Provenance. The startup is called Provenance, which actually tracks the entire journey of a garment from the raw material to the final product. And then for this application, what you can see is that on the right-hand side, the user can simply read the QR code or tap on the RFID tag and to find out all the information written on the blockchain. So it's very convenient, it's very low cost, and also it encourages everybody to contribute their data onto the blockchain. So you may imagine when I say contribute the data onto the blockchain, the next step is about big data analytics, machine learning. So blockchain, I would say, is an enabling technology. I call it a back-end technology for enabling a lot of value-added service to our industry. So the last example I would like to talk about is the trade finance. It's a system that we are building at CryptoBLK. So about trade finance, we know that it's a huge market. The global trade, we're talking about 12 trillion. And then in that, I'm just talking about the 12 trillion market, which is involving the financing. So for the trade finance, actually involves a lot of entities. The buyer, the supplier, the banks, the buyer's bank, the supplier banks, and also the carrier. So there are so many documents like the purchase order, invoices, the bill of lading, all kinds of documents. And most of them are actually generated using different systems. They don't talk to each other. So what if we have one common blockchain platform? So everything can be digitized, and everything can be transferred within that blockchain system. And this is exactly what we are building right now. This animation is not well prepared. As you can see, it's not aligned. But basically, it actually shows everybody that we can actually put all the documents onto one single blockchain so that we can access those information whenever we need. So right now, we are building this platform, which is called Voltron 1, together with HSBC. And some other banks are very interested in joining in as well. And we may imagine that within this year, we are going to launch it as a production level. And right now, it's still running the pilot run. And you may imagine in the future, most of the banks will be on the platform. Senders, I mean those buyers and suppliers, they can also be on the platform. And then they can just transfer all those trade finance documents on a single platform rather than using any old-fashioned paper-based stuff. So I would like to stop over here. And I hope that I give you just a little bit information about blockchain. The takeaway about blockchain is that it's just like the CDR, and it's write once and read many times. So if you have any question, feel free to ask. My email, everything is over here, and thank you very much.